Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video I'm going to talk about people who, various things, but really people who want to see that they haven't developed this thought that just because they're interested in something, like some people are really interested in narcissistic abuse, and some people are just now learning about it, and some people have been really into it. They don't seem to understand that people aren't at the same level. They're not as advanced in what their knowledge, and some people are new and some people aren't. But there's also more than that, like people who are interested in something else, or some other aspect of it than that person, you see, or they just might not have interest at all unless they need a certain amount of knowledge or certain kind of knowledge in one certain thing, like gaslighting. What does it mean? That might be all that they want to know, is what does gaslighting mean? And the other person, who knows more about it, they just can't realize that they might have an attitude that person's kind of dumb. No. Okay. No. Pardon the blinker, you'll hear. But now some people, this is not a really good example, because you would think that people who know about narcissistic abuse wouldn't put down other people for them not knowing enough, or them not being interested in enough in it. That they just wouldn't be the type that would be so judgmental, as to insult somebody in a way, insult or whatever, because they don't have as much knowledge. But it does happen. But my thought whenever I was making notes, I make lots of notes, and I'm trying to go through them and talk about each thing that I've written over years of notes on. But the thought that was on my mind was how some people think that people around my age, I'm 55, I'm a baby boomer. I'm actually both a younger baby boomer and an older Gen X, because of the year I was born. But some of them think that, I just did a video, some people think that somebody my age doesn't know enough or doesn't know much about the internet or anything. Well, I was one of those pioneer women in it, so you can't tell me that. But I don't represent the whole. And anyway, that's what was on my mind, is how people think, like some people, any age, and I'm not talking about any certain age on this, is that, somebody else doesn't know something about this or that using the internet. It's because maybe they simply have a different interest. Some people, believe it or not, still to this day, they're not interested in the internet at all. Because some people think, it's just all opinion, and a lot of it could be wrong. I can't say all opinion, but yeah, really, when it comes down to it, nothing is 100%, exceptions to all the rules. But a lot of it is misinformation. So some people are just not interested in, they prefer to go to the library. And they're going to go to the library and not look it up on the computer at the library, but look it up in actual books, or use the, to look something up online they can that is scholarly journal articles, something like this. So some people really aren't that into, my point was, the internet, to use it for what? Watching YouTube videos, or reading Facebook groups, watching Facebook videos, whatever, whatever, some kind of social media platform. They're not interested in that. And some people, I've seen this, I've heard this, people say, oh, you need an app. Well, what's an app? So some people don't know what's an app because they're just not interested in it. Some people live more on the outside of the internet. So they don't live in the virtual world. They live in the face-to-face world. You see what I'm saying? But some people will take that and act like that person who isn't into the internet is stupid, or they lack something. They're lacking, Yeah, wrong. Just because they're not interested in the same thing as you, and that can be on anything, any topic. Just because they're not interested doesn't make them wrong. But I don't think that too many people see that, especially when it comes to the internet. Like I say, it could be anything. Some people might be really into cooking, and others don't care. I don't care. And just people think, oh, that's a horrible, horrible thing that somebody isn't into cooking. No, it's just a difference in interest. So, yeah, I was going somewhere, but, well, we'll see. So I think I've said enough on that one, but I have a bunch of topics that I've written down. I've mentioned this in other videos, that I've written down a bunch of topics over, I don't know how many months or years, that I want to get through, because they're still on my mind, you know. Actually, if I can read my notes all the time would be great. But, so I want to get through some of this, and so I'm going to switch to this other topic. And this could be like if you were in a dysfunctional family when you were a child, it could still be going on, and or like say your marriage, or whatever your situation, that you don't live alone. Okay, you live with somebody else. And it could be somebody who is really, I wouldn't say narcissistic, but it could be somebody who's narcissistic, or it could be somebody who just doesn't think outside of their, doesn't see beyond their own nose, and just doesn't think about other people and what that might be like. Okay, or they could be different things. It could be something else. Okay, so here's another topic. Like I said, that this about living in a dysfunctional family, or maybe a toxic family, whatever it is, with another person. And they do this. I mentioned this in a video a long time ago about, like, when you were a child, if you lived in a big family, you had bunches of sisters and brothers or cousins or whatever, people around your age, and you have your parents, your guardians, whomever. And people forget to tell you things like, you're a child now, and they forget to tell you that you're going to go somewhere. It could be just down to the store, they don't tell you ahead of time. Like go to a store, or go to something even bigger, a movie, something a child would want to go to. A child might want to go to everywhere. I was that type. I want to go everywhere. And when I got older, I traveled a lot. Road trips. Yeah, I travel a lot. And but they don't tell you. They just don't tell you. And then right whenever they're going, they say, well, you better come on, we're leaving. Well, you don't have time. Maybe you just woke up. You don't have time to do things like, they're saying they're going to leave you at home if you don't come on. You don't have time to get yourself ready, presentable, change your clothes. Well, you might change your clothes out of your nightgown or something, but your pajamas, but you don't have time to really take the time to brush your hair, do your teeth, whatever, brush your teeth, brush your hair. Yeah, because they're rushing you, or they're going to leave you behind. Okay, now when you get older, something like that, or even then, somebody, like you're living with somebody, or you're married to somebody, or somebody in your own little family that you created is kind of like this. And maybe you're an older adult, elderly person, they're like this. And they will turn it around to where that somehow, if they're narcissistic type, the toxic type, they could do this. The type that would do this, they would turn it around to where somehow, some way, you're at fault. And you might look at it and say, the only way I could possibly be at fault is if I could read minds and just ignored it. Because nobody told you that. And this can happen in a lot of ways. People not telling you what you need to know ahead of time, and saying it's your fault. That's something that you didn't know, or you couldn't read between the lines, or something like that. And there's also a type that I think many of us know. It could be in the same family, or could be that same person. Is the type that is always going to be late when you have an appointment somewhere you need to be at a certain time. They're always going to be late. Now me, I see that more of as like a narcissistic-histrionic type behavior blend. I'm not diagnosing. None of this is about diagnosing anybody or for anything. But it's kind of like a behavior that I've seen more of the people with narcissistic and histrionic kind of behaviors all around. What they would do is they're always going to be late because they want to make a grand entrance to somewhere. Yes, that type that makes you late for something is going to, once you are late, and say you are late, and somebody confronts you about it. You should have been here on time. You had plenty of time, or whatever. It could be your job, and I mean, something less on you. But say you're going to a family thing, and you had to go there, and then they had to leave from there, and made that person made you late to your families, and then say your parents say, why were you late? That wasn't good. And that narcissistic person, that histrionic person, is going to turn it around and make it your fault, even though it was that person's fault. Good chance of it. I have seen this myself, so I'm only basing mine on opinion and experience. So yeah, that was another one. And I'm trying to go through some of these, like I said, these lists that I have of things and notes I've made here. But that one can lead to this. When somebody is always turning things around on you, making other people think you are like the bad one, you're the bad cop, but making you look bad, or just blaming you for something in front of other people, or just blaming you when it's just the two of you for something, turning it around, all that kind of stuff. That you might, that and then some things, you might start to stop trusting people. You might go through a long phase of not trusting people. It might be a balancing act. Before you were too trusting, after some kind of abuse, especially when you realize this person is bad, and it's maybe like somebody you're married to is cheated on you and says it's your fault. These kinds of things. You like I said, you stop trusting, so you go from trusting too much way to an extreme of not trusting at all. Before the pendulum swings until you balance out. So you might go through that long stage. I go through it every blue moon. Not even that much, not even that often, but when, like you have another thing, and it could be something so innocent that you wouldn't expect it in, like going to a store or something, and somebody does something that's wrong. You might go through a little bit of a, whew, I don't want to really trust people. I just went to a store. Let me give you an example. I went to a store, and there was a woman. I was trying to get some donuts out of those things, that they have doors, and the doors can come back at you. Well, there was a woman standing. She walked up and she goes, "How about we do this?" And I did not know this woman. She's probably about 10, 15 years younger than I. Never met her, never seen her before, nothing. She said, "How about we do this?" And she opened the door and held it for me. Held it open. And it was just so shocking to me because like I say, I live in Narcissismville. People are very narcissistic. It's all about them. What I would have more expected is that she pushed me aside so she can get the donut she wanted. Yeah, that kind of stuff happens. But no, she was real nice. And so I have, in stuff like that, I'm still leaning on the end of not trusting people in stores. If you've watched any of my videos from the past, you'll know what I'm talking about. That, yeah, life in Narcissismville. But it was shocking to me. So it was, one of those things that you kind of get your faith back in humanity a little bit. So it's like the pendulum swinging. You see what I'm saying? No, the notes that I wrote on this topic about trusting was basically when you are in that mode of not trusting, or people see you that way, that you're not trusting anybody. Now, some would say that, like if you were, you were more trusting, or somebody else is more trusting, you might, or they might think that person is naive for being that trusting, or to trust anybody, okay? And others would say that you're being paranoid. So I guess when I wrote this down, I was going for that I wrote this, that there is a middle ground. There is. But I think many people, they swing back and forth with the pendulum, and they don't ever really truly just balance out to where they're one way. Because I think some of it, as a sociologist, I would see it this way, is because things are changing too much, too fast, that the people can't catch up with everything like they could when I was younger. Now, things didn't change this fast, especially because of due to technology. Things are changing so quickly, and the way people communicate with each other is different. Like, some people used to, they couldn't stand getting a text. Instead, like one of my friends would call and say, don't send me a text, give me a call. Nowadays, reverse, don't call me until you send me a text. But things change so much in how people communicate with one another. And I think we all can probably relate to how some people stop trusting the other person or their position with the other person because, you know, this other person is used to it, and they've developed this mindset of, well, you should text before you call me. And some people, they don't even text people at all. You know, they don't care for that. They just want to call and talk to you. And so they start to, you know, not even trust what their relationship is with you. If you get upset that they didn't text first, you know, things change. Things just are changing too quickly for some people to keep up. Like I said, and I think it develops a trust issue. But I'm trying to make all these brief, so yeah. Okay, and this last part, let's hope it is. It's going to be about. I made a note here about being yourself after being in a relationship with someone who's a narcissist, not a diagnosed, but has narcissistic behaviors, or it's just abusive, toxic, and you've been in a relationship with them for a while, maybe years, and at first, you know, of course, they were the perfect, you know, person, perfect spouse, whatever, but as time grew and went on, their true colors started coming out. And this one is about when you do divorce or you get close to divorcing, being yourself. Now, the thing about it is that over time, over years, they've basically molded you. They could have, not one size does not fit all. One size does not fit all. That they molded you into, you don't even recognize your old self to your new self. At some point, you were made into something like a mini-me, it could be, you know, to them, a mini-me to them. Or you're overwhelmed, you've been overwhelmed for too long, you're exhausted, you're mentally drained, you've been mentally drained. Whatever it is, by the time you do wake up and divorce, but you don't recognize yourself, and you don't even know how to be yourself, you don't know who you are. That wasn't something they shaped to be like them or for them. And what about you? What about your own interests, your own, you might not even have been able to develop a career, and you could be not old, you could be at an older age that it might be difficult. But you don't even know, what would you do? What would you be interested in doing in the first place? You know, they may have told you the whole while that you're not good at anything. You know, even if you were, say, a homemaker, or, you know, male or females. I know male homemakers. So, well, I know one these days. I don't know about any of the other ones, but, you know, to say that a homemaker is not any good at anything. No, you're not good at cooking. You're not good at whatever. I don't really think of homemaking as all that about what you do as far as cooking, cleaning. You know, you're not the maid, but for some people that you would have to be. But this narcissistic type person would even take that from you. You know, some of them, like I'm saying, this is not one size fit all for everybody, for all of them. But even nothing that you don't have any idea of what are you good at. It could be that extreme that you don't know anything about yourself. What would you be good at? Yeah. Okay, and I will say that I think that has to be the toughest, one of the toughest, I can't say the toughest, but one of the toughest things to do is to find yourself again. And of course, it's not going to be the same as it was before. It's going to be different. It's going to be new and improved. But to find out who you are and what you enjoy without somebody else, you know, somebody else's opinion, course, you're going to have opinions no matter what you do these days, any days. But yeah, without having somebody tell you that you're bad, you're not good at that, you wouldn't, it wouldn't, it wouldn't, all this stuff, everything negative. And to take those risks of failing. Again, yeah, you might fail at a lot of things before you find out what you're good at, what you're really interested in even. You might think you're interested in, I don't know, some kind of art or craft. And then you find out you are no good at it. And you just don't get into it like other people would get into. It just doesn't work for you. So what? You fail, move on. Find something else. And you might go through a lot of things before you finally find that one. But at least now you're being you and not what somebody told you you are. Who to be. What you should do. What you shouldn't do. It's you. I think that's the best part of it all. Yeah, you can expect some failures. That's part of life. But you're not having somebody sitting there and telling you you're a failure all the time. At everything. Like I said, it could take a lot of failures before you find the one. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up.